Hey, welcome back. So I'm gonna do a little short video vlog, I guess. Just what's been going on the last 3-4 weeks. I know I haven't really had any videos coming out. I'm pretty sure in one of my last videos it probably showed this truck on jack stands, the front axle out. Obviously that's been all taken care of. And that's a huge shout out to Mike Goff, Goff, at Yukon Gear and Axle. He turned a very bad situation into an amazing situation experience. Just the way his patience, he was apologetic. He listened to the problem. And he explored everything, and then not only covered what should have been covered, he went way above and beyond covering the whole situation. So I don't need to get into details other than just shout out to Mike Goff at Yukon Gear and Axle. He just turned this situation into an awesome, best case experience possible when you have a gernaded front axle. So I'm super happy and thankful for what he was able to do for me. So moving on from that, that was also a learning experience for me. So I got all the new parts, components, brand new 538 gears, brand new zip locker, master install kit, all that stuff. Years ago, I had bought a couple things to tools that would be used for setting up ring and pinions, although I never got into it. But this scenario kind of opened up a door or a thought like, hey, I feel like I'm a pretty capable guy with what I've done so far, what I've built. I think it's time to learn how to set up ring and pinions. So I bought a few extra tools. Another shout out to East Coast Gear Supply. They had some of the other tools that I didn't have yet. They set me up with some stuff, gave me a good deal, a good experience. So then it was a lot of learning and just trial and error. I guess the biggest thing is if you have a pre-set up axle that's already been set up, or even a factory one, long as you have shims to start out with, that's going to help you a ton. I couldn't imagine just taking a empty housing and then trying to start from nowhere. I have recently found, I think it was like a suggested start shim pack file that I found where you have somewhat of a starting point. But anyway, like I said, I had some shims to go off of. It took a little trial and error, but at the end of the day, I got a really nice backlash. I got a really nice pinion depth, pinion bearing preload. Everything just ended up working out really well. The one thing I'll say is that Yukon stresses the zip lockers. You need to have preload on that carrier. Basically, he was saying with any Dana axle, if you look at the front of a Dana axle, it's got the 2 holes on each side of the peg. That's for a case spreader. Basically, if a Yukon zip locker is installed without a case spreader, chances are very high that there is not enough preload that Yukon wants that to have. So I have all these tools now. I feel fairly confident now that I've done one. So down the road, way down the road at this point, with my second set of axles, I mentioned before, I'm probably going to go to a 488 axle or 488 gears down from the 538s because I'll be adding that doubler that's been in the box for 4 months now. And then, so I'll be regearing another Dana 60 and then a Sterling 10.5 for the first time. So I guess, why is the truck on the hoist right now? Why are the tires off? And why is the front differential cover off already? Well, since the repair, there was one trip that I had to miss because it wasn't back together in time. That was our club snowway event in up and around Grayling, Michigan. So that event was missed. But then there was another event planned up, starting in the West Branch area of Michigan, going up through Rose City, Clear Lake, Mayo, and then St. Helen. So I was up and going for that. It was an awesome weekend. Just trail riding, something totally different that I don't generally do. Generally, we're in an off-road park or we're down south somewhere, we're on obstacles. This is just straight up two-tracking, trails, moderate, a couple hill climbs, and then there's a couple play areas. But it was awesome. The whole group was there from Team Ford and then some. It was family friendly. The wife, the kids came. They rode in the truck all weekend with me. It was just super fun. So not that I needed four-wheel drive, but they always say you want to run a brand new ring and pinion through some heat cycles and not just start rock bouncing right away. So on the back, on the trails two tracking, I just basically put this thing in 4 high or lock the hubs and just let the ring and pinion spin pretty much the whole time. Because there's a number out there like, break in 500 miles, but I mean, how do you track 500 miles off-road? So solid weekend of 2 days, two tracking trails, left the hubs pretty much locked the whole time. I feel like that's sufficient. So now I'm draining the oil, and obviously it looks super clean, but now at least I know everything's broken in, and we're good to go. But there's another reason why and / timing of why this is working out. So I'm not sure if the video you're watching right now is going to be before or after this actual install video, but the reason why draining that fluid is working out right now because I have ball joint deletes to put in, or I already did put in, depending on when you're watching this video, from American Iron Off-Road. It's something I've been thinking about for a while. I'm currently running Dynatrac rebuildable ball joints, which I think was the best case scenario versus running a stock OEM style. So at least I knew they were greasable, rebuildable, etc. But at the end of the day, they're still a ball joint. So over the last year and a half or so, I've been just watching more and more videos and pictures being posted of ball joint failures. And when a ball joint fails, one thing happens, or if you blow a U-joint and a U-joint pushes the ball joints out, then you have a whole front corner just limp. And to get that back to a trailer, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I've watched some videos. It's not easy, not fun. So since I got to pull the knuckles and everything from knuckles out, axle shafts, the fluid needs to be out anyway. So time-wise, it made sense. Hey, let's break the fluid in, drain the fluid, and then I'll pull all this apart and get the deletes put in. So that works out. All right, so something else that I took care of while the whole front axle was out of the truck is I've had in the box for a few months now too, a whole set of Enduro joints from Barnes 4-wheel drive. When I initially built the truck, I really didn't know any better. Oh, just put some Halves on it, whatever. So the truck had 100% Halves on it, and when you're off-road, I mean, there is some creeping and some squealing and some whatever. They're kind of noisy. I'd never driven a truck like this with anything else, so I had no idea. So I did some more research, and again, noticed more and more people are running Endural Joints or Johnny Joints, or there's a variation of these through a lot of different manufacturers. The big thing is, though, is they have like 3 benefits built into them over a Halves right off the get-go. A Heim, which I grabbed the wrong one here. This is a Magnum Heim. Let me grab the other one. All right, so general 1.25 inch Heims are as you see here, and I think that's like 3.5 inches of threaded shank. And then you have basically, what is it, like a 1/2 inch? No, probably almost a 3/4 inch thick jam nut. So that leaves you with, I don't know, 2.5 inches of adjustability / engagement. So when you're building your links, you don't really have a ton of room to spare. They do sell Magnum joints, which basically doubles the length of the threaded shank. Big bonus. The Enduro joints already have that Magnum length shank on them. They are 100% rebuildable, and they are 100% greasable. So that's like 3 huge bonuses. And a lot of people say that the overall ride, comfort-wise, is a lot nicer too, because the way the Enduro joints are made, you still got that ball and socket like a Heim, but that's encased in some really tough poly bushings, which there's no bushings in a Heim, just a Teflon seal. And then you have grease, but having that poly bushing takes away so much vibration and harshness, is what so many people have said. And I can now vouch for that. Just having the 3-link joint switched over at this point, I can already notice a way smoother, quieter ride in the truck. Which I'm like, dude, I'm running 40-inch tires. I mean, aren't the 40-inch tires already that much of a cushion, whether I'm at street pressure or not? But evidently, vibrations and stuff still go through those big tires, through everything, and then through the joints to the frame. So I can definitely tell a huge difference, which is why I'm doing the back next. Replacing the rear Heims with the Enduro joints. I just was waiting for a time that I could just put it up on the hoist and knock that out. It's not hard, it's just basically do 1 link at a time. I'll support the axle by some jack stands. The limit straps will act like a safety. But here's an actual Enduro joint. Like I said, it already has like the Magnum length shank on it. It's got the grease zerk for greasing. And you can see the C-clip, so you can fully rebuild these. So I think that's going to be awesome. Like I said, I can already notice a huge difference just having them on the front. So putting them on the back as well, it's going to be so smooth. I'm very excited about that. So that's what's going on with that. So one more little hiccup that happened. So after I got the front axle all put back together, back on the truck, I went to take a ride down to the store, and there was just crazy vibration that I've never felt before. I'm like, what is that? But then I remember a couple times in the last 2 parks or trails that we're on, I remember hitting the drive shaft a couple times, but nothing seemed to be an issue. Well, at the same time, I haven't driven it on the street in a long time to even feel an issue. So I got down, looked at it. There was about 3 or 4 good-sized little dings and dents in it. I'm like, well, that must be enough to knock it, you know, make it out of balance or whatnot. Both shafts are Tom Wood shafts. I wanted to just send it back to Tom Woods, but by the time I boxed it up, shipped it, they're usually very fast, so I don't think I would have waited long. But I had that trip coming up in a week and a half, and I didn't want to chance it. So I found a local drive shaft place, brought the shaft down there. Again, I don't know the truth behind it. I know it's a reputable shop, but they said they didn't have any tube or components that were the same diameter of what the shafts were that Tom Woods made. So I basically had to have them just make me a new shaft. Is what it is. I still have the other one as a backup spare. So new shaft was put on the back. And of course, on the last day of the West Branch ride at St. Helen, I slipped on a rock, and a rock touched the brand new drive shaft. And now that it's up in the air, it spun the actual balance weight off. So that's frustrating. But it's part of the game, I guess. I wasn't ready for that to happen so quick. Other than that, there was a few more things I was taking care of, which I'll cover real quick. I mean, the one thing you really can't see, brand new diff fluid in the rear, obviously diff fluid in the front, new diff fluid in the T-case. Everything was greased, ready to go. I mean, the truck was a blast to drive on these trails. It was so fun. And it made it that much more fun and cool to have the wife and kids with me the whole weekend. So looking forward to more of that. So one other thing that I kind of did, I know when I first put this truck together, I was using TMR mounts that mount basically on the factory location where a Super Duty coil bucket goes. But they were 90 degrees is how the bracket was bolted on. And then I remember after I built the truck, I ended up pushing the front out another inch or so. Well, I never really paid attention, but having that bracket 90 degrees and the shock sitting at X amount of degrees, every time I was at full droop, I was binding up those lower bearings and the king shocks. So I found both of those extremely, couldn't even move them. They were just seized up. They were terrible. So I put brand new, they're called COM8 bearings. So I got new bearings in both locations on the front shocks. And then I basically copied the TMR mounts I had and made some new mounts. You can see the mount is the same angle as the shock. So there's no more binding. These lower shock mounts are now basically in a neutral position throughout the whole stroke. So that was also handled. Another thing, I'm not gonna run outside the barn real quick, but my tow rig, my 2015 Super Duty F350 crew cab long box dually. It's been an awesome tow rig. I love that truck. It seems like from factory or whatever, the truck virtually sits level, just sitting there, which looks good. But if you already have a level truck, any amount of weight you put on the back, it's going to lower the back. So I haven't been really liking the truck looking squatted, whether I'm pulling the travel trailer, the family camper, the the deck over trailer with the Explorer on it. And then, down the road, when I get that done, that's going to be in the box plus pulling this. So, real quick, looked up some stuff, and I found the company ReadyLift made a 5-inch block kit. The factory blocks are a 2-inch block, so you pull the factory blocks out, put the 5s in. Essentially, you're gaining a 3-inch lift in the back. It sounds like a lot. But I mean, the truck to me sits like perfect now. Like it's got a nice rake to it, but it doesn't look stupid. So then towing the Explorer on the deck over trailer up the West Branch, the truck just sat still slightly raked, it sat so perfect. And then in combination with the 5-inch blocks, I took the factory bump stops out of the 350 and installed a set of those Timbren bump stops, and those are awesome. Once you have a load in the truck, you do essentially touch the Timbrens, but like, I don't know, it seems like the right lanes here in Michigan on 96, 75, where all the semis are at, it's always like there's a little bit of like a hop. Like the 350 always like kind of hops because the road is like this from the semis. Well, that hop wasn't there this time. I don't know if it was just the block, how the truck sits, or just having the Timbren bump stops active, but all this was gone. So I mean, the 350 never towed so smooth in the right lane. So that was a big win as well. All right, so I'm sure the videos probably end up longer than what I want it to be, but there's just so much little things. A lot of people are probably wondering about the truck camper. Well, This whole thing has delayed me probably 6 weeks by now. But after this next week, knocking out the ball joint deletes and the Enduro joint swap, this camper is going back on the schedule. So check for a new video on that in probably, I don't want to say how many weeks because I don't know when this video is coming out. But the truck camper series is starting back up soon. So, all right. Just want to fill you guys in what's been going on, what's been happening, what's been changed, this, and that. And we'll see you in the next one.